I'll be honest, when I first bought the boat, I primarily bought it to fish redtails. Just sit in one spot, hover over spots. And then I moved. And where I moved to, I didn't buy a redtail for 2 years. Instead of going, backwards and back trolling, I was going forward and trolling crankbaits. And, for me, it worked out really well. It went as well backwards as it did forward. I mean, it stays on a great line. It just creeps through when you're going backwards. You can basically get it slow.
And I got to tell you, and I hear a lot of people talk about, well, does it troll good forward? Well, the name, the name thing is only because when I went to name the company, it's like you got to get a URL, right? I had all these tricky ideas and all these concepts. Well, every URL or web address was taken. I mean, literally, I wanted to be Avid Boats, right? Avid fisherman, I'm avid about this. Well, I couldn't get the URL. And so I'm sitting around going, well, you're kind of like white bread, right? That's what you got going here. And so I'm staring at all my competitors' brochures, and they all talk about what a great back troller they are. And lo and behold, the URL was available for all of those things. And so, of course, we own them all.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's nice to hear you say it. It does go forward because sometimes people have the idea only goes back, right?
Right. Right. And that was a testament to the hull that you've got as far as how it goes in reverse, how it goes forward. Sure. Pairing it with the two motors that you've got, it goes at that right speed. And so as far as fishability, drifting, it's a very slow drifting boat in comparison to almost every other 17-foot out there, which for me is a positive. Boat control is obviously a big thing, especially in walleye fishing, more so than almost any other industry.
Right.
And so that's something that I've really appreciated. And that coupled with the inside of the boat for fishability also makes a big difference. There are days where I like the long cockpit. I like having, room to fit 3 people in there to jig fish, to whatever. And there are days where I like to cast.
Speaking of that, the cockpit, I see all of this stuff, and it's all personal preference, right?
Sure.
I'm just going to ask you right now, the back troller cockpit is a long rectangle. It's 100 inches long, which it's the biggest, I think, in any 17 or 8-foot boat for length.
Right.
And it's 44 inches wide. Now, can you name one fishing event, technique, method where a square is better than a rectangle?
As far as,
right. I mean, the way you have to be spread out in the boat. I mean, 3 guys standing in a square or 3 guys in a rectangle.
Right.
I mean,
if you're compressed into that, if you're at all casting, it creates an issue when it's smaller. That square shape, that rectangle definitely spreads people out. And a lot of the people that I fish with, I don't like, so I like to be farther away from them. But no, it helps to kind of separate, right?
Well, what if you're drifting?
Exactly.
You're all out this side. Well, how are you going to do that now?
Right. And your seat configurations. I mean, if you're drifting, your knees aren't wedged in against the bunks. Right. You got room to spin around. So there's just so many different variations. And then you talk about the casting decks, and all of a sudden, musky time comes around. You throw those decks, and it's like a brand new boat. And that's the fun thing for me, is kind of setting up a system that works for what I'm fishing. How I troll forward is going to be a different layout interior-wise than how I back troll or how I jig or how I musky fish. So. It really does fit a lot of different industries. And that's hard to do with a boat. It's hard to have a boat that is truly multi-species. But with your, modular interior, that does help. That can really make a difference.
It has trolling. Forward trolling just becomes so much more prevalent.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody's doing it. And it's effective, and that's why it works.
Right.
And there again, it's nice. For me, I like room. If I'm trolling, I'll pull out as many seats as I can to just have a wide open floor plan. And that long cockpit, wide open, it just makes grabbing rods so easy.